Hi guys. Hello, and this is Lil. Say hi, Lily. Hello. Okay. Lily wanted to sit in my lap. Okay, come on. Okay. So this is week 4 of the YouTube Pagan challenge. Let's get right to it. So the question is your take on the Wheel of the Year. Alrighty. Okay. My take on the Wheel of the Year. I kind of take this as like, how do you view the Wheel of the Year and how do you view the Sabbats? So, um, I view the Wheel of the Year as a cycle, specifically the cycle of the seasons. So, when I see the Wheel of the Year, I see, the cycles of the seasons from, spring to winter. And going along with the Wheel of the Year, I think of the 8 Sabbats. And with the Sabbats, they do represent a cycle of the seasons and a cycle of nature. And also like a cycle of energy. So I guess just to kind of quickly explain each Sabbat, there's kind of like like 3 parts to the Sabbats that I work with. So there is a season that the Sabbat represents, seasonal energies of the Sabbat, and then energies that are manifested during that time of year around the Sabbat. So the first that I'll start with is Yule. So with Yule, it is also the winter solstice, and so it represents winter and the winter energies of solitude and peace and quietness, introspecting, working on yourself, kind of mental workings, and really that stillness and solitude and peace that you think of when you think of winter. And then the other energies are the energies that are during that time, which would be Christmas and Yule. So those are energies of, peace on earth and goodwill towards man, which I say goodwill towards humans, animals, and it's peace and joy and love and light and the returning of the sun, and the sun is waxing, and it's just a really, joyous time, and, gift giving, being with family. Yeah. So then with Imbolc, that represents the transition from winter to spring. Even though it's the heart of winter where I live, it's still a transition period that you can see slight bits of spring emerging, knowing that spring is on its way. Then with the energies of Imbolc, with Imbolc and the transitional period, it's a time of rebirth, things coming forth from the earth, light, the sun is waxing, the days are growing longer. It's still winter, so there's still some solitude and peace. And there is, I'm trying to think, there's like the fire energies of love. So along with that would be like the energies of Valentine's Day, which I do incorporate, which would be love and love, love in all its forms. One sec. Come on. Come on. So, love in all its forms. And I'm trying to think. I am so sorry. Okay. Yes, I think that's all I had to say about that one. Okay. Then, continuing on to Ostara, that is the return of spring. And even though spring really isn't going to come full throttle until April, it still represents that spring is right around the corner. It represents the rebirth, the renewal of the earth, rebirth and growth, and the light is really at its peak at this point. It represents fertility of the earth and of nature, and rebirth and growth of ideas. Um, I do want to say that with Imulk, actually Imulk is really the time where I start working on my New Year's, like my New Year plans and goals. So usually like Thanksgiving to New Year's is such a busy time. There's so many holidays and birthdays and stuff going on that I really don't have time to look within and kind of work on myself. So January is really a time where I start working on myself and introspecting and having that time to myself. And then so Imulk represents the time that I actually start to come up with plans and goals. Okay, Spice wants to say hi. Say hi, Spice. So it's a time to work on plans and goals for the new year. What do I want to get accomplished? And just developing the ideas. Then when Ostara hits, I work on taking action towards my goals and plans. So I actually come up with action plans and I start working on the goals and actively working on them during Ostara. And really the other energies for Ostara or the spring equinox would be just the fertility of the earth and the regrowth, renewal. For Beltan, that is the transition from spring to summer. That summer is right around the corner. And it is a time of, for me, it's when the veil is the thinnest for the Fey world. And I do honor the fairies in the Fey world at that time. It also is a celebration of passions, not just sexual passions, but passions of life and your own personal passions, and igniting a fire within your passion, of your passions and within, and really starting to heat up the fire to actively, more actively work on your goals for the year to achieve them and accomplish them. And it's also a time of working with kind of the balance of your life, kind of yin and yang energies, working on your balance. And then Litha, or summer solstice, is the return of summer. It's about energy and vitality, and the sun is around. Obviously, summer solstice represents that the sun is waxing and the days are getting shorter, but we're kind of just starting summer. And so it's still going to be really hot summer, and there's going to be lots of fire energies going on, but the sun is waning. Sorry, the sun's waning. And it also represents, really, I guess for me, just a lot of the energy and vitality and fieriness of the summertime. And then for Lunasaw, that represents transition from summer to autumn. Though we are still in the middle of summer at that point in time, it represents that autumn is around the corner. It represents for me the first harvest, which is really the main harvest of the entire year. There are some fruits and berries and herbs that you can, and some vegetables you can harvest during spring and early summer, but Lunasaw is really the time, especially around where I live, to have your biggest, most abundant harvest. This is the time where you're going to have the most the largest amount of items to harvest. You're going to have a huge harvest, lots of different things you're harvesting all at once. It also represents, for me, working with nature and animals and pets. So I do a lot of protection work for animals and nature and pets. Usually there are a lot of forest fires, things going on at that time around here. So definitely a healing and protection for nature and animals and my own pets. Mabon is the renewal of autumn, or the autumnal equinox, and it also marks kind of the witch's Thanksgiving. To me, that means being thankful for what you have in your life and being grateful, and giving to others in by being thankful for them in your life and what they've helped you with in your life. And it also is a time where I do work a little bit with ancestry. I'm starting to work with my ancestors at that time and honoring them. And it's also with the equinox, it is kind of a balance. I usually have more of a balance going on during Beltane instead of the spring equinox, but during autumnal equinox, it's a really big time for balance. And I guess really, that transition from the fire energies of summer to more of the air energies of autumn, and it's getting colder. It's a really big transitional time, and it really is about a balance of everything. And then for, oh yeah, Mabon's also the second harvest, and a lot of harvest, end of summer, beginning of autumn harvest, second biggest harvest. And then Samhain is the transition from autumn to winter, and it marks the veil is thinnest for the spirit world. You can communicate with ancestors and the spirit world. I do have my ancestral altar that I talked about before, and I do work with my ancestors. I don't work with them on the day or before or after the day of Samhain, but I do work with them during October for communication, guidance, and messages with like oracle and divination. It's a big time for divination. I do a lot of divination at that time, all different sorts of divination at that time, to really, get messages and see, kind of to see what the next year is going to hold, and to see what I should work on with myself when I'm starting to introvert into winter. Um, and it's the third harvest. It's not as big of a harvest. It's kind of, that end of autumn harvest, but there are some things you can harvest and have. And yeah, I suppose that's about it. I did also want to say that elemental wise, summer is fire, autumn is air, winter is water, and spring is earth for me, because of the heat of summer and the winds and weather of autumn and the snow of winter, and then the renewal of the earth and everything growing during spring. Also, spring and autumn are kind of balanced energies as far as extrovert or introvert, but summer is really the extrovert time for me to really just be very extroverted with what I'm doing, have lots of energy, and be active, constantly active doing things. And then winter is a very introverted time where I really go within and I'm not very active and I'm not really doing that much. And I don't want to be very active, which is kind of why I wasn't doing videos for a while, because I just wanted to focus on myself and my own goals and myself, and a lot more introverted during winter and focusing on my own goals and, just personal things that I want to work on. And finally, there was just one more thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, so with my goals, spring is usually the time where I start to actively work on my goals and plans for the new year. I start acting upon them and really have fleshed out all of the ways that I'm going to act upon my goals and plans and get them achieved, and I start working on it. Summer is the biggest time that I am working on those goals. I get most of my goals and plans done and accomplished during summer because all of that energy going on. Spring, I'm usually working more on my body and, my health and my wellness and fitness and exercise and my diet. Summer, I'm working more on all of the other goals, that financial goals and career goals and all these kind of outward goals around me in my life that I want to accomplish with all that energy. And then autumn is a time where I start to focus on all my spiritual goals. So if I have any personal or spiritual goals, autumn is definitely the time where I focus on my spiritual goals. And it's a very spiritual time for me. I call it the witchy season because it just feels witchy and magical to me. And yeah, just a lot of divination and spiritual goals and plans being accomplished during autumn. And then winter is more, like I said, I'm introverted, but winter is really for mental healing. Winter is when I really focus on all of my mental goals and I focus mentally on myself and I focus more on my inner soul and my inner personal goals and yeah, kind of just those inner soul and mental goals and plans to achieve. If I don't get any of my plans achieved by Imulk the next year, if I want to continue to work on them, I just add them to next year's plans and goals. If I don't get all of them achieved within a year, that's fine. I mean, so much stuff happens in a year, and there's so many things that I do accomplish during the year, and things change that, for me, it's perfectly fine if I don't get all of the things on my list done that year. I'll just, if I want to keep working on them, add them to next year. If I've changed and it's not really important to me anymore, then I won't work on it next year. And going back full circle. So that's kind of how I work with the Wheel of the Year. Uh, that's how I view the Sabbats and how how the magical workings that I have and how I work and do things during the year, the cycle of the seasons. That is my answer on the take of the Wheel of the Year. Thanks for watching. Have a good day and a good night. Blessed healing. Bye.